Now, to achieve this, we can also use this dictionary here in monthly challenge by number and simply get our forward month, so the month to which we want to forward the request to which we want to change the URL, by reaching out to the monthly challenges dictionary, and then there we can call keys like this, which is a built-in method we can call on a dictionary object, which will return us a list of keys. And I have an example for you here. Here I created a test dictionary with two keys, test and test3, which hold values of test2 and test4. And if I call keys on that, what I get back is a list where test is the first value and test3, which is my second key, is the second value. And starting with Python 3.6, dictionaries are by default ordered in Python. So I can rely on the fact that the first key in my dictionary will be the first item in that list, since I'm using Python 3.9. So therefore, we don't need to use the extra ordered dict type or anything like that. Instead here, we can rely on the fact that January, if we call keys on monthly challenges, will be the first item in the generated list, February will be the second item, and so on. So since month in this view here will be 1, 2, 3, and so on, what we can do is we can get our keys here and actually maybe name this months, because that's the better description. Keys of this dictionary are simply the various months we have. And then we want to forward the user to the specific month that was picked here. So now months here will be a list of those months. And actually, to make it a real list, we should wrap this with the list function here, because otherwise it's just an object that looks like a list. Only by wrapping it with list, it's a real list. And month then, the argument which we're getting, which is that value from the URL, that dynamic segment of the URL, that can be used to access the specific month to which we want to redirect by index, by using this month which we get as an argument, which is part of the URL, as an index in this list. So the forward month then could be months for the given month index. Because month, keep in mind, will be a number because we converted to an integer here. And then we can use that as an index in that list. That's standard Python. Now we got this month to which we want to forward or redirect, if we want to call it like this. And now to tell Django to redirect, so to not send a response with a body that should be displayed, but instead to lead the browser to send a new request to the redirected URL, we send a different response here. We send a HTTP response redirect, which we therefore also have to import here. So from Django HTTP, we import HTTP response redirect. And that's then what I return here. I return HTTP response redirect, and that now wants the new URL, the new path, so the part after the domain to which we want to redirect. And that would be /challenges here. That's still part of the URL. / and then we combine this with our redirect month. So with that month, we extracted from that list of months, which we got from our monthly challenges dictionary. Now this is just standard Python, but we're using this code to send a redirect, so to change the URL. Now let's have a look at the result to make this a bit clearer. If we save all of that, if you now enter /1 here, challenges /1, you are redirected to February. Why not to January? I'll come back to that in a second, but it generally works. If I enter 8 here, I'm forwarded to September. So you see that that URL changed automatically because we returned a redirect here. And a redirect simply tells the browser, hey, that URL which you wanted to visit, yeah, you can visit this, but actually it's not the final, the real URL you should be visiting. Here is that real URL, the value we return, And the browser then goes ahead and sends a new request to that redirected URL, hence reaching this view and getting the result back from that view. And you can see this down there in the terminal as well. We got a request sent to challenges 8, and the response was a 302 response, which might not tell you much, but which is a redirect response. Any response code starting with a 3 is a redirect. And therefore, the browser automatically sent another request to challenges September, since that was the redirect URL we passed with the redirect to the browser. So we gave the browser the information where to redirect to. Hence, the browser sent a new request to this URL and now got back a standard response. The 200 success code means that it's successful, that everything is fine. That's how this worked here. Now, why do we redirect to February if I enter 1 here? Because we use the month as an index, and of course lists in Python, like in many programming languages, start at the index 0. So what we should be doing here is deduct 1 from the month. So that if month is 1, we actually use index 0. If the month is 2, we use index 1. And with that, if we save this, if I enter challenges/1, I'm redirected to January, 5 redirects me to May, and 12 redirects me to December. Now, if I enter something else like 15, we of course get an error because that's an index we're not supporting here. So to finalize this view function here, we might want to add a if check here and check if month is actually greater than the length of months. So if we try to access a month which exceeds the number of months we have in that list, and if that's the case, we want to return an error or whatever you want to do. Here we could return a response not found error where we say invalid month. So now if we entered a month which is not actually supported, we return this error response. So if I now try visiting 15 again, I get invalid month. The same for 13. 12, on the other hand, redirects us to December. So I know that these were a lot of new concepts. I still hope it's clear what's going on here. If not, definitely go through these last lectures again, because these are core essentials. Working with requests and responses, working with the redirects, and reading the different values that are part of the URL, possibly converting them to ints and strings. These are all core features that are built into Django, which you will need in a lot of websites you're building with Django. Now, a lot of the code we wrote here in views.py is standard Python though. A dictionary, converting a dictionary to a list, and accessing list items by index, that's all standard Python. So if you got some issues there, if something is unclear there, I strongly recommend that you also dive into those Python essentials and basics again, because of course you also need those in addition to knowing Django. But with that, let's now dig in a bit deeper and let's learn a bit more about Django and what we can do with requests and responses and so on.